Most manipulators never choose victims randomly, because your everyday behaviors quietly reveal hidden psychological vulnerabilities first. The frightening reality is strangers sometimes understand your emotional weaknesses before close friends ever recognize them completely. Without saying anything, your reactions constantly reveal whether you are difficult to manipulate or surprisingly easy instead. Today, you'll discover 7 psychological signs manipulators secretly watch before deciding you're worth targeting for control. Each sign appears completely harmless until someone skilled begins quietly exploiting it for their own personal advantage. Psychologists explain manipulation usually starts long before lies, pressure, or emotional abuse become painfully obvious to victims. One overlooked behavior especially convinces manipulators you'll forgive almost anything without questioning their true intentions later. Stay until the final sign, because countless intelligent people unknowingly display it every single day without realizing. Conversational ownership. Some people never fight your questions, because redirecting attention gives them far greater psychological influence during everyday conversations instead. You ask about their behavior, yet somehow moments later, you are defending your personality, intentions, or emotional reactions instead. This subtle shift feels harmless, but your brain begins forgetting the original issue while chasing completely different explanations instead. The moment you notice this pattern, pause mentally, because the conversation quietly changed without your genuine permission already. Imagine asking why someone ignored your message, then suddenly explaining why you always seem suspicious about everything instead. Nothing dramatic happened, yet the spotlight quietly moved away from their actions toward your supposed personal weaknesses immediately. Here is where it gets interesting, because skilled manipulators rarely need lies when distraction alone changes emotional control completely. The next hidden tactic appears even kinder, yet it often creates deeper influence than direct confrontation ever could. Strategic vulnerability. Some manipulators reveal painful memories exactly when your emotional defenses become weakest, creating instant sympathy before difficult conversations continue. Their sadness may sound completely genuine, making your brain naturally switch from healthy caution toward protective compassion almost immediately. Compassion itself is never the problem, because timing sometimes transforms honest emotion into powerful psychological leverage over another person. The scary part is your empathy becomes the doorway through which hidden influence quietly enters without immediate suspicion whatsoever. Instead of calmly evaluating facts, you suddenly feel responsible for protecting someone from emotional discomfort before addressing important concerns together. That emotional weight makes firm boundaries feel unfair, even when your original concern remains completely reasonable and deeply justified throughout. Instead of forcing motivation, your brain needs small systems that compound quietly over time, exactly like quiet growth teaches naturally. But there is one hidden psychological trick next that makes unfair requests feel surprisingly reasonable before you even notice it. Reverse anchoring. Some manipulators begin with an extreme request because your first rejection secretly prepares the real agreement they actually wanted. Your brain compares every new offer against the outrageous starting point instead of judging its fairness independently and carefully. That comparison creates an illusion of compromise, making the second proposal appear balanced, despite remaining clearly beneficial for them. The moment you recognize this pattern, every negotiation suddenly feels much easier to evaluate with calm, objective thinking instead. Imagine someone demands an impossible favor, then quickly lowers expectations after your completely understandable refusal without showing frustration whatsoever. You feel relieved because the new request seems reasonable. Yet that emotional relief quietly influences your final decision significantly. Here is where it gets interesting, because the first proposal was never intended to become the actual agreement anyway. But the next psychological tactic is even harder to notice because it quietly changes the meaning of your own words. Twisting your reality. Sometimes manipulation begins after you express a simple feeling, yet your words suddenly return carrying completely different meanings afterward. You calmly request personal space, but they accuse you of abandoning them without care, loyalty, or emotional responsibility whatsoever. Now your attention shifts toward defending your character instead of discussing the healthy boundary you originally communicated with confidence. The most painful part is constant clarification slowly exhausts your mind until doubting yourself feels strangely normal every single day. Manipulation succeeds because repeated pressure quietly reshapes your thinking before you even realize your confidence has gradually weakened inside. Whether through twisted meanings, repeated claims, or uncomfortable silence, every tactic encourages your brain to question itself first, always. This week, notice one conversation where your focus suddenly changes, then calmly return toward the original topic without unnecessary apologies. Once you recognize these hidden psychological patterns, manipulative games lose their power because awareness quietly changes every future interaction forever.